Good morning. My name is Randy Krebs, Goal Director from Salt Lake City, Utah. Thank you for joining us this afternoon or this morning on our Advanced Leadership Call. Before we get started with today's special guest, I want to make sure that we cover 10 things to always expect with our USANA business. Number one, there will be ups and downs, definitely. Number two, success or failure is up to you. It's not if you succeed, it's because of you. It's not because of your upline or your trainer or anyone like that. Success is because of you. And if you fail in this business, it is also up to you. Number three, the goal is you becoming independent. Number four, plan, do, and review. Plan your day, do, and then review how your day went. Number five, it's going to take time. It's going to take you 1 year to become competent, 3 years to create a significant part-time income, 5 years to become a significant earner, and of course, 7 years to become world class. Number six, it takes consistent work and hustle. Number seven, you're going to have to grow and get outside your comfort zone. Boy, that is so true. Those of us that have been in this business, even our 12th year, we're still getting out of our comfort zone. Improve your skills. We're definitely working on our skills every day, doing your DMO, doing that 15 minutes of learning and training. Being focused, and that's key for a lot of our success, is being focused on those income producing activities based on the time that you've set for them. And then finally, mental toughness. This is a tough business. It is not an easy business. It does take time, but it's definitely worth it. And then always remember, amateurs sell the products, but professionals sell the vision. And with that, I would like to introduce our guest speaker on today's advanced webinar. Her name is Jennifer Douglas. She's pictured here with her husband, Brian. They are foundational diamond directors, originally from Salt Lake City, Utah, but I'll let Jennifer tell about what their current journey is right now. They have been with USANA for 22 years. And just can you imagine all the stories and everything that they've seen, not only with their business, but they've gone through with USANA. And also, they are current members of the IDC, which is the Independent Distributor Council. So they are our voice as associates to the company and doing an amazing job. I think this is their third concurrent year on the IDC, and I'll let Jennifer talk a little bit about that. But without further ado, I'm going to bring Jennifer aboard. So Jennifer, let's have you come aboard. Are you there?
I am. Let me just start my video here.
Oh, yeah, we can
wonderful.
See you well.
Okay.
That's excellent. Well, Jennifer, if you would, again, thank you so much for joining us today on our advanced training webinar. Tell us a little bit, your life before USANA, what challenges you faced. You and Brian worked this as spouses.
Yes.
How did that go? And what it's been building the business, the up and downs. So take about the next 20 minutes, and the floor is yours.
Okay. Well, thank you, Randy. It is a pleasure to be with you guys, and just to hear and see you today, Randy, and I saw Viola a little bit. That was really great to see some faces from home, because we are on a pretty epic trip with our family. And we do miss Utah, although I don't miss the snow. It's a little rainy where we're at right now, but it's warm. We're headed to Florida where it's 80 degrees, and I just am so excited. But it's just a pleasure to be with you guys, and everyone that's on this call is actually on our team, and we're just really blessed to have you guys in our downline. Jared and Crystal, and just you guys are just an amazing team, and so we're really thankful for the team that we have in USANA, and so thank you for having me. So I just wanted to, you guys asked me to share a little bit about our story and what life was like before USANA, what it was like building it and building a strong business, and then what it's like for us now. So I was 19 years old when USANA was first presented to Brian and I, and wow, I had no idea really what I was planning on doing with my life at that point. I knew that Brian and I were going to be married, and we were excited about that. We both worked for the same company. Brian was a district manager for a company called Cragen Auto Parts, that was what it's called on the West Coast. It's Checker Auto Parts, or it was Checker Auto Parts, in the middle of the country, and then also Shucks in another part of the country, but it was all part of one company. And I worked in one of the stores, and he worked as a district manager in San Diego. And so we worked a lot of hours, and I guess we thought that was okay at the time when we did it. But as we were looking to the future, being married, hopefully having children, and wanting me to be home with our kids, it really wasn't, I don't know, we weren't going to be able to just live off his income. And the hours that we worked were just crazy. So Brian worked a lot of hours. He was on salary, and I knew that when we had kids, that was going to be a real struggle to have him home, and because sometimes he worked late into the evenings, and that just wasn't what I wanted for us, and he didn't want that either. So when we were first presented with USANA, we didn't want anything to do with it. I'm sure a lot of people have heard the story, how for 6 months, Jeremy Stansfield talked to us about it. And we said, no, no, no. We were just extremely negative. And I'm just so thankful that Jeremy stuck with us and kept pursuing us and wouldn't give up on us. And because we had some things happen in those 6 months that were very difficult. One of them was, the big thing that really happened was that Brian was asking for was asked to apply for a different position in the company. They wanted him to submit how much he would need to take that position in the company, financially, what would be the income. And he submitted what would be a reasonable amount, really, for us to move and cost of living increase and all of this. And they came back to us and said that was not something they were willing to pay him. And when he asked to be transferred back to Salt Lake City so that we could live near his family, they told him that they wouldn't do that either, because he made them more money in California than he could make them in Salt Lake. And it just became really apparent that after he had given a lot of his life and time to this company, they were not going to give back to us what we wanted. So that's when we decided we probably needed to look elsewhere. And it's just such an example of when the timing with people that people are talking to changes. And Jeremy was there and stuck with us. And 6 months later, things had changed. And so we were willing to talk with him. So it took us 6 months to say yes. And it was one of the best things we ever did. And when we got started in our business in the early days, before we got on this call, Jared was asking me to share if there was ever a time that we wanted to quit. And I don't know that there ever really was. It's not something Brian and I ever had a discussion about. From the very beginning, we just implemented, did the things that we needed to do with setting goals, making sure that we worked consistently with the time that we had, because we were very busy, that we completed the necessary tasks that we needed to do every single day, and that we did personal growth, that we attended events. And once we reached goals that we set new goals. And we were very diligent about reading our goals on a daily basis. And I guess we just really didn't have a lot of time to think about quitting because of the hours we were working in corporate America. And then we were also planning a wedding, and I was going to school full time as well as working full time, and then also doing our business. So I don't know that we really thought about quitting. I mean, I can think of, one time where I was pretty down, and Brian and I just talked about it and worked through it and remembered what our goals were, what we wanted to do. So once we got started, it was about 3 months, I think, maybe a little less than that, that we were able to replace my income. And I was able to quit my job, which was such a huge relief, because I did not like where I worked, and there was some struggles where I worked, and just with managers and things like that. It was about 8 months that Brian was able to replace his income. We actually had the time that we knew we were going to be able to quit. He was going to be able to quit his job was the week of our wedding. We had our biggest check to that date, and we realized, wow, this is definitely something that we could do. That was the end of October, and then January. I think it's January 11th. I can't remember the date exactly, but I'm pretty sure it's January 11th of 1997 was Brian's last day of work. And we packed up in San Diego, and we moved back to Salt Lake City. Or it was the first time I'd lived there, but it was where Brian was from. And that's when we started full-time with USANA. So that was about 8 months after we become involved. And that year, and then we would become gold directors, then very soon after that, ruby directors, and then following that, emerald directors. And so, in the beginning, I actually made a list of things I thought that were challenges, ups and downs, that I thought, came to mind. Because even though I said that we've never quit, there's still times that we had things that were difficult for us. And so as I was thinking through that, some of the things that maybe were hard for us was like when somebody returned USANA product, a customer would return product, and then we had negative volume maybe in a leg. That was challenging. And I'm sure people that are listening to this have had the same thing happen. Talking to someone about products, and they think you're trying to make a quick buck on them instead of the fact that you're just really trying to help them. You can see that they have a health challenge, or they financially are struggling, and you just want to help them, but they see it in a very different way. We definitely encountered that. I think one of the struggles that we had early on that has been something we've had to work through repeatedly is the fact that we have family members that even after 22 years and the success that we've had with USANA, and that this has been our full-time income for 21 years, we still have some family members who don't want to hear about it, don't agree with us, and don't they just don't support us. And so that's definitely something that is challenging for us. Sometimes it's been attacks on the industry or USANA itself over the years that we've seen that have been a challenge for us. And have been some of the more difficult things. And not having an associate succeed when we really see that they have the potential to, or that we really want it for them more than they want it. I really like some of the things, Randy, that you shared at the very beginning about how you're responsible for your own success and your own failure. And that's something that we've had to learn over the years, that it's not always, we're not always going to be able to make people succeed, even though we really want it for them. Just like Jeremy couldn't really make us get involved 6 months before it was the right timing for us. But he was there when it was the right timing. And so that's what I would encourage each of you when you have an associate, that you see that they have all the potential in the world. You just got to wait sometimes for the right timing. So some of the ups that we've had over the years, when I'm thinking of that middle time when we were really building a strong team, was when we had somebody calling, and we had a customer call, and they had great success with the product. And that maybe they had not received relief anywhere else when they've gone to traditional doctors or whatever. And then they use USANA product and they have an amazing result, and they're just almost in tears with you on the phone, or maybe they are. That's really very rewarding. An associate calling you and telling you that they are starting a family and that they're going to be able to be home with their kids. That, for me personally, is something that that's probably my favorite thing about this business, is when a mom or dad or both get to be home with their kids. If that's what they want to do. The fact that something that's really been up for me personally is home every day with my kids, every day that I've wanted to be home, or if we're not traveling. I don't want to say I don't want to be home, but if we're traveling, obviously I'm not home with them, but we basically get to decide that we're home with our kids, both Brian and I. And just for me personally, some of the ups have been overcoming the fear of speaking publicly. Even doing a call like this was not something that I would be able to do when we first got involved in USANA, working through some of those things, talking to people, publicly speaking, and just being comfortable with being able to do that. Because I kind of grew up in USANA, being 19 years old when we got involved. I've had a lot of growth in USANA. So some of the things that I did want to share with you that Brian and I did every single day, and I said them just a minute ago, but some of our success specifically has come because we have worked consistently in our business. And we do something every day. Some days we work a lot more and other days we don't. But in the very beginning, we were very diligent to work every single day on our business. We used to have this thing where we had a list of tasks that we would do every single day, and we completed those. And he had his, I had mine. We decided what they were, and we did them. Some of them were things that we more naturally could do, that we easily could do. And some of them were things that stretched us a little bit. So we tried to look at each other's talents and abilities and do our tasks in that way. And then also just also do some things that stretched us that we maybe weren't that comfortable doing that we needed to get better at. And then personal growth. That's something we always have done. We're a big promoter of events. Not just to have people at events so that they're rah. That's not why we do it. We want people at events, and we go to events so that we can be fed, and that we can be encouraged, and we get to see our team, and we get to see the community. There's many, many reasons, but we have always done personal growth. Right after we got involved in the business, we went to our first convention. We took vacation time, drove in, stayed with family, packed lunches, did all the things that we could do to save money so that we could go to that event. And it was huge for us. And we have not missed a convention since. So events are very important. And like I said before, we set goals. And then when we reach those goals, we reset goals. We're always very careful and diligent to make sure that we have another goal in place once we've completed a goal. So that's what we did in the beginning, in the middle, and now. That's what we do. That's what we teach our people to do. So now after all these years, like Randy shared, we are a foundation executive diamond directors, and we have been involved. We are with the IDC, and our life is very different than what it could have been or what it was like when we started this business. We get up when we want to. We kind of just do what we want. And sometimes I even forget that that's not what everybody's life is like, because, more than half of my life has been spent this way. And I don't say that. I'm not trying to say that in a prideful manner, but I really do forget, because it's been like this for so long. We have been able to homeschool our children, which was our choice. We wanted our kids to kind of see a different way of life. There was many reasons that we homeschooled. One of them was we wanted to travel. One of them was we wanted the time with our kids, and just to help them experience life differently, to receive an education through Brian and I, as well as through studies. And so we've been able to do that. We've traveled extensively with our kids. Brian and I have traveled, been able to go do things that we want to do. We've worked every day, but about 6 weeks of our marriage, we have worked together as husband and wife, as business owners. And that's been really awesome. And I just want to say that in the very beginning, I was not very positive at all about USANA. And it took a long time for me to convince. We were actually already involved in the business for me to really be convinced that this was a good business and legitimate and all of that, even though Brian was more convinced early on than I was. But I just want to encourage you, if you are married to or a spouse that is negative and not positive about USANA, is to just hang with them. Just be positive yourself. Don't take the things that they say personally, because I said a lot of stuff, and thankfully Brian didn't take it personally. Just continue to do the right things. Continue to build your business. Let your success be what actually convinces them, because really when we made, I think it was a $400 or $500 check, that's what we needed to replace my income. And I knew that we were moving in that direction. I was helping Brian move in that direction, but I don't think I fully grasped how, at that time, I didn't understand completely how the compensation plan worked, but I also didn't understand residual income or time freedom. And when he said, hey, you can give your notice at your job, I was like, what? I was floored. So really, that's when, of course, my beliefs started to build, was when it was both him and I, both of our efforts, but really more of his, showed from our success. And I was like, okay, well, wow, we can do this. And that really turned the tide for me. So I just want to say that if you're dealing with that kind of spouse, love them well, be patient with them. I wouldn't, Brian didn't argue with me about it, didn't try to convince me in that way. He convinced me with his actions. And so just hopefully that can help somebody that's possibly dealing with that. And so anyways, back to what our life is like now. We just have a lot of time freedom, and Randy kind of touched on a little bit that we are on this road trip. So what we did was, one of the dreams that we had, that was about 5 years ago, Brian had made a comment, what if there's kind of a long story behind it, but I won't share all of that. But basically, we were coming back on a road trip from Oklahoma after seeing family. And we just started talking about how we love to see the United States on the road, in a car, in a vehicle, instead of flying places. And we really do. We like to travel that way. And long story short, we came up with this idea is, what if we sold our home and traveled the United States with our kids in a motorhome? And, it was kind of just a dream then, but it began to grow. We did write it down. We did put some information down on paper about it, about what we wanted to do, where we wanted to go, what we wanted it to be like. And 5 years later, we had the opportunity earlier this year to put our house on the market. It was a good time to do it. Our son is going to be 18 next year, and we figured this is it. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it. So we wanted to have the time with our kids. So, and just as a family, be together, kind of for, one last hurrah. And so we sold our home. We packed up in a 45-foot motorhome. We have a trailer on the back that we haul my car around in, and then it's also part of it's converted for our kids to stay in. It's got a bathroom and beds and stuff like that. So it has been a pretty interesting experience. I think we're on our 10th state right now. We're currently in Montgomery, Alabama, which is really a cool place as we're learning about civil rights and actually going to the places where things happen. I just have to say that for me, I'm loving it. Having taught my kids history and all this, through homeschool, I hope that they're loving it too. But being able to actually go to places where things happened and decisions were made. Like yesterday, we were in the house of Martin Luther King Jr. when he was a pastor in Montgomery, Alabama. We were in the kitchen where, in his own words, he said he felt the calling of God to stand up for justice. And that was the beginning of him being involved with the civil rights movement. It's like, wow, how amazing is that I'm in the place. I'm not just reading about it. So, anyways, it's been a really cool trip so far. We're only about 2 months into it. And at a year, we'll talk about if we're going to continue on or if we're going to head back to the Salt Lake area and, get in another home and stay there. But anyways, from here we head to Georgia and then Florida, and we're having a blast. So that's kind of what we're doing right now. And to be honest, without residual income and time freedom, we never could do this, because we don't have to worry about finances while we're on the road. We can do the things we want to do, and we don't have to worry about time freedom either. So I'm very thankful that we have our USANA income and our USANA team, and just that this is where we're at in our life. It's pretty awesome. So I know that you wanted to ask some questions, Randy.
Yes. We have a few minutes left. If anyone has a question for Jennifer, again, Jennifer, thank you so much. I've got 2.5 pages of notes where I've gone through, your success, especially your success notes of, work consistent, be diligent, a list of tasks. When you say list of tasks, I correlate that with our DMO, something we learned from Eric Worre, that all of us are working on as well, our daily tasks. Personal growth events, Brian and you have always been, key to saying not only calling to good events, but setting the vision for going to events, and then setting goals. I mean, just to hear that you guys have set goals for 22 years has been great. So anyone have a question, go ahead and either type it in the chat or go ahead and unmute yourself while they're getting ready for that. One question that I have, Jennifer, you and Brian have been in the business 22 years. How has it changed now? What did you do 22 years ago that you're doing now to propel your business? How was it? What are you doing different?
Well, I mean, lots with technology has changed. Things are not exactly the same as they were back then, because we used to mail tapes and stuff like that to people. I would say that it seems like it moves a lot quicker now, and we're able to use technology in a way to benefit us. One thing that definitely has changed, of course, is social media. However, the way that we engage people, and this is something that Brian and I are really learning, because, we did kind of we've done the business the older way without social media for so long, and social media is kind of a new thing on the scenes. The thing is that we still treat and engage and encounter people with the same, integrity and confidence that we've had in USANA all along. It's just that we're doing it in different, using different tools now than we used before. Tools, I mean, like social media, being able to text someone a link so that they can watch a video, things that we weren't able to do before. But as far as the person to person and the relationship, we still do that the same way, because that's really what we're building is relationships with people, and trying to help them see that they can have a different way of life. And it's really, some of it's just by getting to know us and us getting to know them. And like, as an example, we just signed up the gentleman who bought our home in Draper. And it's the same way. It's the relationship, the time we spent with him, that really mattered, even though we encountered him as well on social media. So I think that's one thing. I think one thing that is a little leading back to social media, because it's not the primary way we build our business, but is not to be afraid of it. We're learning not to be afraid of it. We're learning to see that it's just a different way to build relationships. So that's, I hope that kind of answers that.
It does. Second question's from Adriana Perez. She goes, do you use a specific strategy to present? Or to prospect, sorry, a specific strategy to prospect?
We just really have a lot of lines in the water. So of course, now that we're traveling, we encounter people in RV parks and everywhere we go. So we're just talking to people, and honestly, I'm just the kind of person that'll just ask somebody where they're from, and, if they're from around here, and then I'll tell them about myself and tell them what we're doing. And but I was like that when I lived in Utah. I would be at the grocery store and I'd hear somebody say something and I'd be like, hey, you don't sound like you're from around here, or, just strike up a conversation and get to know people. So we do that. We, like the license plate on my car, it says jobless, and around it has, the frame around it says retire early, call this number. So we have that. We do things on social media. In fact, you guys can follow us on what we're currently doing is Dougie Road Trip. That's DOUGIE Road Trip. And that's on Facebook and on Instagram. So we're doing that. But mostly it's just, talking to people face to face. And getting to know them. It's just the same old stuff, just doing it. There's really nothing new. It's just doing it regularly and consistently. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll become.
Very true. So true. We're, 30 minutes past the hour. We're right on time. Again, Jennifer, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your Dougie road trip,
Yeah.
out of your busy schedule. Thanks for sharing all of your nuggets on how you succeed. I mean, this will be recorded. We have actually, we're probably up to around 43 or 44 USANA leaders that we've had this half-hour meeting with, and
Oh, good.
it'll be
Good.
recorded. I'll send you the link to it, to all 44 of them, as well as you can use this with your team as well. So again,
Thank
thanks so
you.
much. You know, I've known you and Brian and your family. Your son, I've watched him grow. I can't believe he's 18. That tells, you know, our 12 years in
Yeah.
has gone quick. And I always remember the story of Alex writing the 3 business centers on
Yeah.
and explaining it. So
Yeah. Yeah. Teach them young.
you guys have both been great leaders to us and to our team, and we just want to thank you as well.
Oh, that's certainly our pleasure. Yeah. And if you guys do want to follow, anybody is welcome to follow our journey. Like I said, that it's Dougie Road Trip on Facebook, and it's just a group that we'll add you to, or Instagram. And you guys can see, you know, all about our life and what's going on and the craziness.
Okay, I'm going to, you know, unmute the lines now. Everyone's unmuted. So everyone just tell Jennifer thank you and have a great afternoon.
Thank you, Jennifer. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jennifer. Great story.
Oh, thank you.
Jennifer.
Thanks for having me on.
All right. Have a good day, Jennifer.
Okay. We'll see you later. Thanks.